NEI Hoops Nation, and welcome to the NEI After Dark live show. As you can see, Coach Teichman and I are here, and no big top 25 games here late with us, but we do have some action that we'll be following with you. Try to do some score updates as we go, and obviously for anybody that has been following, we got several coaches coming on with us as well. So we'll have a lot of coaches on as we get going, but coach, a lot of good action as well as we've seen throughout the day, and we'll get into that as well. I know we got people coming in and coming into the room here with us as well. I know it's cool. I don't know about you. I know you get texts all day too, and all through the week, but. Several coaches on road trips home. I guess we're the entertainment now on bus rides home. So at least we can keep people entertained on that avenue. So
I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense.
yeah. Sounds like I got a lot of messages saying appreciate everybody or appreciate being the entertainment and helping the bus rides go a little quicker. So, well, anything we can do to help, we're here to help out. But no, a lot of good games. I know we're going to cover several of them. I know. As we keep climbing in numbers, I do want to talk a little bit about. I'll go ahead and get the show started. We had we just want to from both of us and everybody else, Coach Lubbers and everybody from that helps out around here. We are sending out our thoughts and prayers to everybody over at the University of Mobile. Well, obviously, on our live show last week, we had Coach Archie on the show, and they lost a freshman, Caden Francis, last week on campus. So just wanted to send all of our thoughts and prayers over to everybody at the University of Mobile, and obviously Caden Francis' family, and everybody involved over there just from his passing this past week. So wanted to start off the show with that unfortunate situation over there. But, I know I speak with Coach that our thoughts and prayers are with everybody over there. So, but jumping into some of the action, Coach. I don't know all the games. I know we haven't talked a lot about. We've texted most of the day. Or feel like we've texted most of the day, but I don't know all the games you got to watch. But really good action throughout the day. Obviously, the Indiana Wesley and Grace games probably the headliner of the day, along with Bethel and Huntington, two games out of the Crossroads League, and we're going to talk to a couple of coaches from those games here in a little bit, but. As far as today's action goes, almost like the week went by, it was some really good games.
Yeah, I'm like sitting here right now going through all of them, and it's like you check throughout the day, and then you have to kind of remind yourself because there's been so many games. Trying to get straight how many kind of teams I'm trying to give shout outs to. I see, we talked to Delton last week. They played a tough one at Wayland Baptist, and Wayland's been struggling to get wins. Obviously, they played a really tough schedule. Wayland Baptist now has wins over Nelson and Langston, and that's two of the best wins in the country. And yet, I don't think their record probably still is anywhere close to where they want it to be. But that's a nice win for Clint and those guys. I
Well, how
want to
about
give a shout out to. Yep. Yeah, go ahead.
well, I was just say, how about the Sooner Athletic Conference? Some of those teams have played 5 league games in 9 days. I mean, that is, oof. I mean, I know every league has their quirks. I mean, we'll talk about it all season long. I mean, every league has their, whether you're traveling, 9, 10 hours to play a league game or whatever it is, but 5 league games in 9 days for some of these teams is, whew, I can't even imagine that is rough.
And Central Christian, who we've talked about before, it's like their nickname should just be like the sneaky team. They just
I
they
know,
beat they always beat someone after someone has a huge win.
I know.
I mean, they always do. So they beat Oklahoma City today. That's a really big win for them. I wanted to shout out Crowley's Ridge, who beat Harris Stowe today, and I think they're off to like a 5-0 start, maybe 5-0, 6-0, 5-1, 6-1, something like that. I think they have one loss, but I think it's to a D1, so I don't think it counts. So they've had some some tough years, and they're new into the AMC this year, and they're off to a really good start, 2-0 in AMC play. So want to shout out Chris Perkins and those guys for having a good start to the year. Um,
Yeah, five
Really
five and two
quick, saw
overall.
Dalton State.
Yep, 5-2
Say that
overall
again.
for Crowley. 5-2 overall for Crowley's.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep, and then Dalton State got a nice conference
Yeah.
win today on the road. They're getting hot right now. Alex is doing a good job with those guys, and I saw Eastern Oregon is still undefeated. They absolutely demolished Carroll today. Carroll
Yeah.
always a great program. Coach Kemp does a really good job, and last year scheduled one of the hardest schedules in the country.
Yeah.
And record did not indicate how good they were. And I think he brought a good amount of those guys back. And this year they're undefeated to start. So those are kind of some guys I wanted to shout out right off the bat.
Yeah, we actually started the week with almost 30 teams undefeated, and we're down to 18. That's we're kind of coming into
Wow.
that time, that we're legs are hitting a little bit too, but yeah, certainly a lot of teams are taking some hits here, and yeah, some of these teams are surviving a little bit too. So cool to see and some schedules are affecting that too. We're getting into league play, and we're going to talk a little bit about it. We got a unique week coming up with Feast Week now as we come up with Thanksgiving. We shift a little bit out of league play, and for most teams, shift out of league play and have some fun non-conference games back for one more week, and then shift back into league play coming up. But yeah, I mean, great week or great action all week long. I know again we had. Some big time games all week long as well. Some of those games we watched last week. Some of these teams were off most of the week, and then all of a sudden we're gonna see them playing in some big time games next week in Feast Week as well. But I'm talking about like Arizona Christian. I know one of the games I saw. Or that I knew was coming up, next week that we'll talk about. I'm sure is an Arizona Christian Freed Hardman game. I think is going to be a fun one. But yeah, but looking all the way through the board, Dort, who I think had a big time week, coming up. They had a big win today over on Concordia at home, and they had a big win earlier against William Woods, who I think is a William Woods team it's really good when healthy too. So Faulkner, who's come up and won some good games, they continue to play good ball, and all the way up the board. There's teams that are winning games right now that are continuing to play good basketball.
Yeah, Dort. I'm looking at Dort right now. They're undefeated. Today they score 102 points, only turned the ball over 8 times against a top 25 ranked team. If you tell me my team's going to score 3 digits and we're gonna have single digit turnovers, I mean you're not gonna lose very many games at all.
Yeah,
So they're playing tremendous. And then who you mentioned, Faulkner's still undefeated. I think they're playing right now, right?
yeah,
Um, are they? Yeah, they're currently playing Oakwood. Is that right?
yeah. I believe that's who I saw earlier. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So they got a good chance to stay unbeaten. See AMC games played today. SAC played some Crossroads. The Sun is playing their conference games already. I know seems like most leagues actually played this weekend. I mean, was there any that didn't specifically that we know about?
Yeah, I mean some of the smaller leagues that I haven't played, but everybody that's played league action played this weekend. Yeah, so yeah,
Yeah,
we've seen quite a bit of league games again. Like I said, I think I said 10 of 21 leagues started up playing, and then we've had even and we'll talk a little bit about it later on or later on with Coach Airwood, but even some of the non-conference action that we saw this week with some of the I don't want to say smaller leagues because the River States isn't small, but the River States hasn't
right.
started up yet. But even some of the Beaver France Invitational that mix some of those leagues coming up. We're still some good games in those as well. So
Yeah, absolutely. We got the Grace. Is it the Grace coaches joining us first?
yep, getting them ready to come on right now, and I know interesting situation coming up, but we'll talk to them too. So um, I know I know I don't know if you want to talk about some of the Sun action. I don't know if you got a chance to watch any of those games going up, but
I
I
didn't
know.
get to see him. I'm looking at some scores right now. Southeastern gets a big win, big as in like point margin over St. Thomas, who I know they have a couple of guys they're waiting to get back, but they had just blown out Weber this week, and so they went on the road. And Southeastern's played a tough schedule so far, and they've been really, really hit or miss with their games. But that's a really good win for them. Ave Maria handles Coastal Georgia pretty bad at home. Florida Memorial beats New College by 20 on the road. Not a lot of close games tonight in the Sun. I think Kaiser beat Warner pretty handily, if I remember correctly. I don't think am I missing anybody? I think that was it. I think Weber was on a bye.
Yeah, yep, yep. Weber, I believe, was on a bye after their loss to St. Thomas the other day, which St. Thomas, handled Weber really well. Crazy how that happened. Weber or St. Thomas held Weber to 9 points and a half and had some insane, godly
Defense,
defensive numbers on earlier this week, and then turn around and
actually
give up
defensive numbers.
91 to Southeastern today. So just some crazy numbers coming up, and I got just watching some of those games out in the Sun. Southeastern can score some points in a hurry for sure. So
They definitely can. They can really get away. They play really fast. They shoot a lot of threes. And
yeah,
tonight they didn't shoot that many threes. Maybe St. Thomas limited them, but they still made a great percentage and shot a great percentage from the field. So that's something you're going to get when you play Southeastern for sure.
yeah. What's up, Coach? How are you?
Looks like Reinhardt.
Junior,
There he
Chase,
is.
how you guys doing?
Good.
What's up, Steve?
No,
We
not much, not much.
we obviously know which one of the two is the more tech savvy ones. You were the quicker one to get going.
Oh, I guess so. I guess so.
We appreciate you coming on. We'll obviously wait till you're both on to fully get going, but we were just talking some of the scores going on here. So, but do you guys get it? Do you guys get a follow up and watch any games when you get home? How long of a drive was it for you?
Oh, it wasn't too bad. It's like an hour and a half. Our volleyball team hosted NAIA national tournament, so that game actually just finished up. So we got back right for the start of that one, and
There you
so
go.
I haven't got to watch much NAIA basketball yet today, but we're able to check out all the scores.
There you go. Jordan's echoing a little bit, but we'll get you guys going. So, well, first off, congratulations on the big win today, big road win against Indiana Wesleyan. I know for you guys, it's the fifth straight win over IWU. It's pretty impressive. I know you guys, for everybody that's watching that doesn't know, you guys have picked up for Coach Coach Moore, who has been out with a we'll call it illness for now. That he's been out for a little bit. I know he's hopefully set to return here mid-December, but thought that after what you guys have been doing over the last couple of weeks, be cool to bring you guys on and one, say what a heck of a job you guys have been doing. Two, to congratulations on the big win today, but also three, to just let you guys have your moment in the Sun, but also talk a little bit about Grace basketball.
For sure. Thank you so much, Junior.
You guys, I guess we can start with today's game. You guys want to, I know for the most part, obviously it helps having a lot of veterans back, but I know Coach Moore and I, what we talk about a little bit, Big E and everybody that you guys lost last year. Obviously, that's what everybody knows about. But I think people forget, how much veteran leadership you have in that experience, and some of those guys that are back for you, have won a lot of games in that Lancer uniform. And I think you saw a lot of that today. I mean, it just seemed like, every one of those guys hit big shots and big moments. Even when Indiana was kind of trying to make a run there late, it seemed like a big shot or big three late kind of held them at bay. And I felt like a lot of those guys Just kind of seemed like they were in that moment before, and it was almost always at the national tournament hitting a big shot, and then it just like seems like those guys carry a lot of weight for you guys, even though maybe they weren't big names around the like Big E has been the last couple of years here.
Yeah, I think one thing we've really taken pride in with our program is each game it could be a different guy, right? Like last year, Elijah was National Player of the Year with 17, averaged 17 points a game. Like that's pretty uncommon for a lot of National Player of the Years. And I think the next guy after that was 13 or 14. Then after that, it was 12 and a half or 13. So I think that's kind of the last couple of years, the way that our statistics over the course of the year lined up. And I think that's kind of playing out this year as well. And I think we've had, three different guys score 30 so far this year. And we've had like 5 different leading scorers over the course of a game. So I think to your point of having a lot of guys that have been through and been in a ton of close, high level games, it's exciting for us to just have a front row seat to see who's going to step up tonight and whose night's it going to be. And when you have a group that's unselfish and willing to give of themselves so that the team can succeed, it makes it even more fun to be a part of.
Yeah, it's also nice thinking like we have 7 seniors, so it's like we lost a lot. But to your point, like we have a lot of guys that have been with us a very long time. And one thing that we do after every game is we'll go back, we'll watch it, and we'll chart winning plays. And a winning play doesn't always necessarily have to be the big shot or have to be the last bucket of the game. A lot of times it's the little things. It's Hunter Walston getting an offensive rebound off a missed free throw. It's Carter getting a big steal and a layup. And I think over time, like thankfully we've had a similar staff for a long time. Obviously we're missing Coach Moore right now and we're ready to get him back, but it's been nice to have these 7 seniors that have been with us that know how things are going to go. So once you get to conference play, obviously everything ramps up a little bit. And to your point, like those guys have been there, they've hit big shots before. Now they haven't been the second or third guy on the scout. A lot of times they were down a little bit further, but I think that's just kind of the way it's been built now. It's the next man up and they're able to go and make plays, whether it's coaches or it's players right now, just going out and doing the best they can.
Yeah. And it's fun to watch, and I know for you guys, it's kind of, I guess it's kind of maybe next man up mentality, and it's kind of like what you guys kind of have done, with Coach being out. It's next man up, right? And you guys have been able to fill those shoes. And what's it been like for you guys? I know it's probably just like every day or next day in the office, but probably pretty fun for you guys to maybe get that experience on the sidelines a little bit more than normal as well. Just to, I know the big goal is to win games, obviously for you to continue to go on, but also that game experience for you guys has got to be fun as well.
Yeah, we lean on each other quite a bit. I think before any timeout or set or sub or anything like that, it's, hey, what do you think about this? And we're constantly talking to each other and asking each other if we both agree. And we've been on the same page. But I think one thing Coach Moore, he's an unbelievable leader, and he's done such an awesome job over our time with him of allowing us to just have responsibility, whatever we want to do or get our hands in. Like he's been so good about just enabling us to do that and giving us the opportunity to do things that at some places only the head coach does. And he says it all the time that we're all 3 head coaches and we're a 3-headed team, but his name's the one on the door. But he's just done an unbelievable job over our time with him of allowing us to have opportunities to grow and almost be head coaches and assistant coaches roles. And obviously, we're looking forward, as Steven said, to getting him back with us and leading us again. But yeah, he's prepared us for a moment that we are ready to be head coaches. But he's just done such a good job of allowing us to almost be in this position before being in this position. And we're still talking and communicating every day and bouncing ideas off every day and still listen to his leadership, even though he's not physically with us.
Yeah, and thankfully Jordan and I haven't disagreed much yet. Where normally you have Coach Moore and you have some side's going to win. It's going to be 2-1, and thankfully we haven't disagreed too much yet. But no, I think it's been good, even just with our guys. Like they know how much we rely on each other, and right now it's just we're rotating every other game, and leaning on each other heavily. And obviously with Jordan's just experience playing against IWU, knowing so much about it, I mean, he was just so key for our guys just in the game plan today to go out and just execute.
Are you guys said rotating? Are y'all rotating who's like technically head coach for each game? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah. I mean, so we found out we have to, like, one of you has to be labeled a head coach, but it's like
Sure.
we both probably stand up more than coach that's not the head coach is supposed to. So we haven't gotten in trouble yet. So we really are.
That makes a lot of sense. That's cool.
Yeah,
That's
thankfully
cool.
the refs have sympathy that Coach Moore's not with us, so I think they're being a little more lenient with us going on the sidelines.
You guys, so go ahead, Coach.
Go ahead, Junior. You sure? Okay. I got a super serious question. Not at all, actually. Your two best players, or at least your last two games, your two leading scorers, are Ians. What do you guys call them? How do we differentiate between Ians?
Well, we call one of them Ranch, and and we call the other one Scott. I don't know where Ranch came from. Ross is his last name, but the guys call him Ranch, so we all call him Ranch. So it's Ranch and Scott. But everybody,
I don't think
there's always nicknames.
We don't know where any of them came from. Yeah.
Anytime teams have guys with the same name, they always have the best nicknames.
No kidding. I think we have a guy with the nickname Tater right now too. We don't really know how that came up either. So, no, it is funny as you get into the season, you start writing stuff on the board. Like we have way too many guys with the initial IS and the initial CH that we start drawing stuff up on the set. And you're like, wait, you got 3 CHs out there. None of them know who they are.
I'd love to see y'all's matchups for starting lineups before the game. And you got the other team's 5 guys, and then you start yours and it says Ranch, Tater. Someone's like, what is this? Is this like a food order? What do we got going here?
Yeah. No, I was just gonna ask. So, like, when you were talking about flip flopping games, so do you guys take like whoever has a scouting report is doing it, or do you kind of opposite? Like, so one has a scouting report and the other one's the head coach. That way you can focus on it, or do you guys flip flop that way, or how's that work out for you?
Yeah, so we kind of sent out our scout schedule for who has them at the start of the year, and it was just alternating. So we've kind of just whichever coach has had that scout, that's who's kind of been the head coach, head coach for that game.
Yeah, and it's been great. Like the day before games, like we sit down for an hour, and I mean we're going over every possible situation. Like what do we want to run against this team? Like what are the ATOs? What's in the game look like? So once you get to the game, it's very much you've already talked about all these situations. So I think maybe the first couple games we were just trying to survive because it was just a little bit chaotic. And thankfully we got to a weekend and we're able to sit down and we're like, all right, how do we want to do this? How do we want to structure it until Coach Moore gets back? And thankfully it's not Jordan and I's first year working together. This is year 5. So we know each other very well. We're pickleball partners. So the friendship runs deep.
What's the one thing that you guys are learning that maybe you didn't know before? Maybe on the court and off the court, maybe that you didn't know that you're having to run, maybe day-to-day operations or just from a game operation side.
I think for me, it's been, man, the importance of having someone you're working with, being someone that's just like-minded, but also like it doesn't have to be. I mean, it's even a really good friend. Like it doesn't have to be your best friend, but man, having someone that's either your assistant or on your staff that it's because it is. I mean, it's a long year. I mean, it's a lot of road trips and it's a lot of time in the gym and in the office, and it is more than just basketball. Like it is, you are doing life with this person on your staff. So obviously you knew that before, but you know, normally it's me and him sitting on the bench, and Coach Moore's coming to us asking stuff, and now it's, you know, every other game it's kind of the opposite. So yeah, I think it's just, man, the importance of obviously you want to be surrounded by good people, and we have really good kids, so that's always fun. But man, the importance of having a like-minded person to do life with, that you're working with every single day. It's just been, it's just made me realize how important that is and how much you appreciate it. Not that we didn't have it before with Coach Moore, but like I said, when you're in a little bit different situation, it does hit you a little more.
Yeah, truthfully, the biggest thing I've learned is basketball is probably the easy part. Like I think it's as you're getting into coaching and it's managing a whole group of people and managing a lot of different emotions. And it's obviously been a little bit of adversity for our whole group of how you manage this, where they haven't seen their head coach in 16, 17 days and how you're addressing the team. And like even this past week, one of our players, their grandpa passed away, and you're like managing like that. So you realize that coaching basketball is like on the court might be like 5 to 10% of it. And I think Coach Moore does such a good job of just orchestrating the whole group that truthfully our role has been a lot of basketball. And then the mentor piece where now you're kind of, he's been gone and you're trying to remember the best ways to be able to manage that whole group as you're going forward. And like it's very early in the year. Like you don't want to peak on November 23rd. Like you have a long season upcoming. So you're just trying to keep getting better each and every day.
I'll add to that. I think the perspective of everything too, right? Like there's so many coaches in the world that are 1,000 times better at X's and O's than me. But it's like, man, we're in this moment, in this position, like for a reason. Now, like these guys at some point are going to have something really hard happen to them again in life. Like how we're responding as coaches and leading them through something really hard like that, I think I think that's been probably the more of Stephen and I's focus of, man, just being positive, just being really good leaders and like getting down to their level and saying, guys, we're in this with you. And hopefully, if that hard time comes, it's something that they can lean back into and remember later on in their life.
Yeah, and I will just to end with this. I know, you guys, I know that when this all went down, I believe I don't remember the exact date, but I know you guys lost the game, I believe, right away, and
Cornerstone.
yeah, the Cornerstone right before, right? Yeah, so things could have happened, and you guys have done a great job of keeping the ship rowing, and very cool to see two young cats, that are in your guys' shoes that have stepped up big, and really cool to see you guys get the win today. So congratulations on that. And best of luck. Well, no matter when Coach gets back, obviously, we're keeping him in our thoughts and prayers as well. And no matter how long he's out, I know the Lancers are in good hands. And it was cool. It's been cool to see you guys on the sidelines. I've watched several games. I have definitely seen you guys in each other's ear back and forth. So it's kind of fun to watch you guys interact on the sidelines. But it's also cool to hear it straight from your guys' mouth. That's how it's been working. But congratulations on not just today's win, but just the whole process and then being able to manage all of it's been very, very cool, and wishing you guys the best of luck for not just however long you guys are in this position, but for the rest of the season, no matter what your role is. It's been cool to watch. So
yeah, we appreciate it. Appreciate all the prayers and thoughts for Coach Moore. I know he's been expressed about he's definitely felt those, and yeah, just thank you for all that you do. Just a small college basketball, you guys do a terrific job.
Well, appreciate that,
Yeah,
guys.
thank you guys so much. And Coach Moore, he's doing better. Like we're seeing him daily. He's going to be back soon, and he's himself, that's all you want to see.
Yeah, no doubt. We're
Good deal. Good job this week, guys.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I know. I speak for everybody that we hope Coach gets back here soon. I know it's not easy for anybody, player or coach, staff, when you don't get your boss man around for a while. But yeah, mid-December, Coach, I'm hearing is when he's supposed to be back. So hopefully we'll get him back on the sidelines. And Grace, number 21, you get a big win over number 3 and Lucky Arena too. That's, Coach, I don't know if we've talked about that enough this year. That's hard enough to do on its own, is to go into Lucky Arena and get a win. So good for those two guys to do that. But I know with the new rankings coming out this week, I'm sure now that Grace has rifled off looks like 5 in a row now, I'm sure that they'll be coming back up the rankings after starting off the year in the top 10 and then dropping 21. I'm sure they'll be climbing back up the rankings here too. So
we're going to see a lot of movement in these rankings. Off the top of my head, I know Langston's lost twice. You said, I think Indiana Wesley has lost twice, right?
yeah.
Who else really? I mean, Oklahoma City's lost twice, right?
Yep, they have now. But they've also they're also the only team I believe that has two. I mean, technically two top 10 wins on their
Yeah.
belt. They beat Oklahoma Wesleyan when they were number 5, and they obviously beat Langston as
Mhm.
well. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. Again, the rankings don't necessarily matter for seeding this year for postseason, but it is fun to look at. So it's gonna be fun to see these top 25 when they come out. So.
I think we'll be seeing Dort. We'll definitely be seeing Dort in there for sure. They
Yeah,
haven't been in it, right?
they haven't. They've been receiving votes. So, I mean,
Yeah.
there's been some conversations we had because, Morningside, I think, is in that conversation there too. And, we'll see what the committee does with them as well, or not the committee, but the coaches do with them too, because, they were looking good, and then they lost on a buzzer beater to Briarcliff earlier this week. So, yeah, there's gonna be several teams that are gonna be right there. I mean, we just have so many teams still with 0 or 1 loss, and sometimes even, or some teams that are really good with even 2 and 3 losses that are. And we just talked about, Oklahoma City with 2 losses. We have Langston with 2 losses. We have so many teams with 2 losses that I think are still really, really good. But it'll be interesting to see where some of these teams land.
It is, and I think it's partially a lot in, for the reason that we talked about last week, which is, it seems like more so than this year than in years past, teams are really challenging themselves early. And so
Yeah.
you'd like to see them not get dinged too much, even though, like you said, the top 25 poll doesn't matter for those teams as far as what they're trying to accomplish. It is something you can point to and use, at least, in this instance, where you can say they beat a blank team. Because if you don't have it, you don't really know how to describe a team. You just, okay, a really good team. So, it's good to see teams getting out there and playing top 25 or RV, teams this early in the year. And it's going to help their RPI. It's going to help their teams as they, go through the year. And they're going to have to beat those teams to accomplish their goals anyway at the end. So you might as well get it done early and throughout the year as well.
Yeah, no doubt. And you're someone that's experienced with playing teams from all over the country. Did you think it benefited you when it got to the national tournament, kind of no matter where you played at, to kind of experience? Because like I know that you're supposed to. I know like refs technically have like you know and this is not a knock on officiating by any means, but like different the games are called differently in different leagues. That's how I feel. So like I feel like some of these teams that do travel, like I think an Arizona Christian team for them, like they've gone and played all over the country, and they're gonna go play at the Battle of the Beach as well. So they're gonna play East Coast, West Coast. They I do think I feel like that helps them, come postseason play, because they're going to see a lot of different officiating from all over the country. Not that saying that like that is going to matter as much, except for the fact that I think they'll be able to adjust to officiating in postseason play a little bit quicker, just because they've seen a lot of different officiating. So I just think that kind of matters too, a little bit. Not that again, not trying to harp on officiating. I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of good officiating out there. It is officiated differently, not badly, just differently across the country.
It is different, and that's a good point. I think that's absolutely true. I also think that's just only one piece of what's beneficial from doing that. You asked me about us in the past. We did kind of get out and play different places, play different geographical areas, and different type of teams. And I always felt like it did benefit us, both on the national scale of you know kind of getting that recognition that you kind of need, but also playing different styles of teams. You mentioned the officiating, um,
Yeah,
different environments, and then also the other thing that I think, when most of the time when you go do those things, they're going to be back to backs or back to back to backs. And I think, in most conference tournaments, you're playing back to back. We talked about Loyola last year. They played 4 games in 4 days. Obviously in an opening round setting in the national tournament, you're going to play in back to back days. So I always thought that was another good thing that prepared your guys for not only their bodies to do that, but also their minds to have to go, hey,
yeah.
we're playing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and you're going to have to learn a scout in a couple of hours, and maybe not even have a shoot around to be able to walk through anything. So as coaches, you kind of get used to doing that routine, and the players do too. So when you have to do it all of a sudden, it's not crazy. It's not, oh gosh, we've never done this before.
Yeah, no, that's a good point too. And like you said, I think you were kind of alluding to the fact that different styles of play, it comes into fact too. And then a lot of these teams are getting out and playing. When you get into these, especially getting into these bigger classics, you get to play sometimes in front of 2 or 3 different Raiders as well. And when you start getting in front of, especially if you get in front of some of the committee people, it may matter down the stretch. It may be maybe be the deciding vote you need to get into the tournament too. So getting out and getting yourself out in front of different people can matter come postseason time. If you're on the bubble, the quote unquote bubble, just being able to play some people, and get in front of the right people sometimes matters.
It absolutely does. That's a really good point.
So I did send an invite over to Coach, so we'll wait for him to play. But trying to give some of these score updates here. I know we had some KCAC action going on. I was watching the Southwestern game. It looks like it's 34-32 a half. Looks like St. Mary is up by 2 in that game on the road. So that game is at Southwestern. So good one there going on there. Ottawa, who's actually playing really good basketball too. Ottawa, Kansas is up 51-38 at the half on McPherson. So that's a good little matchup there too. So we kind of talked about McPherson a little bit last week. So Missouri Valley getting a big win against Peru State.
Team that got a nice win today. Yeah, that's a good win. Reinhardt beat Milligan today at home in overtime. They also beat Pikeville. I believe it was it Wednesday, probably Thursday or Wednesday. So that's two really big wins for Reinhardt. I think they're sitting at 6-2 if I'm not mistaken, undefeated in conference. So shout out to Justin Newton. Those are big wins for his program.
Yeah, nope, they're the Appalachian Athletic Conference is looking a little wide open, but Pikeville, Reinhardt, and those type of teams are in Johnson. I think those are teams that certainly looking good early. So looking forward to that one. So
yeah, Johnson beat Union by 30 today, I believe. I think they have one loss, and I think it was on the road at Freed Hardman, which is definitely not a bad loss.
Yep. Yeah, I probably count on your on one hand how many times Union's lost by that. I mean, they've kind of owned the AAC over the last few years, so definitely hasn't happened to them very often. And a little bit of changing the guard, probably in the Appalachian Athletic Conference this year. So interested to kind of see who kind of takes that league by the horns. And I know we have Coach Compton coming on our podcast this week too. So gonna be a fun little league this year. I think I have made a tweet earlier this year. I think we may want to already look at the tie-breaking rules in that league, because I think it's gonna be one of those where we may see 2 or 3 or 4 teams pretty tight in the standings all the way through the end of the finish line on that one.
It's funny you say that. One of their coaches in their league texted me early this fall and asked about tie-breaking rules in conference, and because they're changed their schedule this year where they don't all play each other twice, and so they wondered about tie-break rules because they were changing theirs or looking to change theirs possibly. So I actually don't know what they ended up doing, but it's funny you mentioned that, because that would be funny if it ended up coming down to that.
Well, about not Thanksgiving break, but here at the New Year break is about when I start looking at the bylaws to see if anybody changed theirs. So that'll be coming up here soon, but because tiebreakers do start coming into play here very, very soon. So just trying to make sure I have Coach Draben's correct email that I sent off, because I did send him one.
Is Central Baptist still undefeated?
They lost to Freed earlier in the
That's right.
big time game that they had. The big time game they had a couple weeks ago that Sage Bourbon dropped 43, I think, in that game. Hit 10 threes.
I forgot we probably talked about that one last time.
Yeah, Freed's had a tough schedule too. They haven't been afraid to play anybody. They're gonna continue playing next week in the are they in both? I think they are. I think they are.
I think they are. They were last year.
I
They
think
were
they're.
last year.
Yeah, I think they start the week in the Battle of the Beach and then they end it in the show.
I've looked at doing that. Like, we really like to do those kind of events, but that's just like I always want to give my guys Thanksgiving, and like I don't think you really can if you do that. So
Let me
that's
look at
that's
that.
tough. That's dedication though.
Let me look. I know that. I mean, yeah. They play two games in each. So they play Southeastern Arizona Christian on Monday, Tuesday, and then in the Battle of the Beach, and then they go play Saturday, Sunday in the show. Play IU East and Reinhardt. So yeah,
Yeah. Wow. Those two events aren't necessarily close by either.
no, but that. I mean, I know with the Mid South, only having 6 teams in it, they have to, or is it? Yeah, I think they've grown, but yeah, they
That 7 teams, so they play 12
Yeah.
conference games, right? Yeah.
yeah, so they have to.
Yeah, so they got a schedule pretty heavy non-con. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yep. So, and when you win a national title, people don't necessarily want to play you. So they,
Yeah, sometimes no one wants to play, and then sometimes other people are knocking at your door wanting to pull an upset.
yep, yep. So no, that's cool. That's a heck of a week. Fun experience for the Free Boys though, going and playing in both of those. So I know that I think this is I think I've heard from several people now. This is probably going to be the last year of the Battle at the Beach though. So
Unfortunately, I've heard the same thing. I think the school that hosts it got a new AD and new head coach, and they don't feel like putting it on anymore. So
yeah, it's too
it's
bad because
unfortunate.
I know you've taken teams down there, but it's always a fun event. And I will tell you, I made a comment. I know I made a comment earlier on Twitter today about the Huntington, Preston, and those guys that do the play-by-play there. But the Faulkner guys are some of the best broadcasters in the country too. I mean, I say that because Faulkner is the one that hosts the Battle at the Beach, and their names escape me on who does their broadcast. Maybe you
Jeremy
know.
Smith. Jeremy
Yeah,
Smith is their main guy. He's
yeah.
the man.
Yeah, he is maybe the most knowledgeable broadcaster out there. If anybody gets a chance to watch Faulkner or the Battle of the Beach this week, they'll know what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about like not just done his research, but like just like stat wise, team wise, like he'll pull up random facts on teams that aren't even in the league, like or
He's
in
also
the
he's also really unbiased too, and
yes, yeah,
Andy's got a great voice for it. His energy is
yeah,
tremendous. That's honestly, it's so funny every time we play in the Battle of the Beach, and then we do self scouts on ourselves after those games. Our guys will like laugh like because he's got some like we'll show some play where we blocked a shot or something, and he's just got some awesome call, and our guys
yeah.
are just dying laughing, like loving it. Like they just eat it up.
Yeah, he really is. I mean, there's some great broadcasters all around the country, but he's the one that really sticks out for in my mind. Just I like watching Faulkner games. I like watching the Battle of the Beach just because he really is one of the best out there, and he makes the Battle of the Beach. And that's another reason why it's too bad it's going away because he really makes the Battle of the Beach even more fun because usually there's good teams on there too, but man, he can call a game now too. So
He absolutely can. I'm glad we got to give him his flowers tonight.
yeah, yeah. So. Well, I don't know if Coach Straven's going to be able to join us or not. I did send off the if he's listening,
I'll send him a
maybe
text.
yeah, you can send a text. I know I sent the invite out off, but may have missed his time, so we can always send off too. But yeah, no. Again, I can't re-emphasize the fact that great broadcasting across the or just really adds to a game and helps out fans and we do have some good ones all the way across the NEI and I know there's some people that unfortunately aren't able to, but if you are able to, it does really add to the fan experience when you're watching games. So we had the Southwestern game on our four to watch today, which is getting harder and harder to pick four to watch. But this game has been
I bet.
a really fun one to watch. So Southwestern just hit a 3 to go up 2 with about 16 left here. So we'll continue watching that one. Another one out West Coast. I know Bushnell had been playing good basketball. They lost to Simpson today in overtime. Yeah, just kind of looking at. I know a Willing Penn team that had been playing good basketball this year after a down year. Last year, they had a good lead late, and it looks like Park came back and won that one in the Hart. The Hart is another league. Baker. We haven't talked much about Baker on this show, but we have on the podcast a little bit. But Baker is a team to start watching out for. I think they'll be eager to see where they come out in the rankings this week. But I saw Ricky Gattuso was back this week, today in their game. He'd been out for a couple games, but that Baker team's a really good team too. I don't know if you get a chance to watch them play. You need to watch them. Anybody that's watching right now, that if you haven't seen Baker play, they're a team that has challenged themselves a little bit early too. Oh, there's Coach right there. I'll let him in. But yeah, they've challenged themselves early with some good scheduling too. It's a fun team to watch. So, Coach, how are you?
Hey, doing pretty well. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. I know I was a little bit worried that maybe we'd had the wrong ad or email, but glad to get you on here. So
I tell you what, I'm not a technology guy. You guys had me like downloading apps, and I had like an Apple ID thing that like my last
no.
email was a Lipscomb email. I hadn't been there for 6 years. I'm trying to figure out passwords and Chase. I thought I just had to click a link and I was going to be on just like that, like.
I'm not a tech guy either.
It's all Junior. That's all.
Yeah, I'm not a tech guy either. So I thought it was easy. No, sorry about that. Well, I'm glad you found us.
I'm good at making easy things hard. So.
Well, the you're making a hard thing look easy right now, and that's winning ball games, and you guys are doing that at a good clip right now, and you got another good win today on the road at a good Huntington team. We saw Huntington get a good win earlier this week against Indiana Wesleyan, and you can talk about your season a little bit too here, but 8-0, I believe 8-0, right? And now undefeated in league play too, in one of the best leagues in the country. So congrats on the great start to the year.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's been a good run so far. I mean, it's early. Like you said, our league is so good and it's just so balanced, a lot of good depth, and there's no easy nights. And, I think Huntington with their win against Indiana Wesleyan on Wednesday, I don't think they played poorly today, but, maybe they overlooked us a little bit. We've got some guys out, we're missing, it's essentially down 3 starters, Preston Phillips, James Anderson, Colin Cummer. And so it was interesting sitting at dinner with my wife last night where she's asking me, how do you feel? And I said, I should feel worse than I do with those guys out, but I'm confident in our guys. We've got great leadership on our team. Trent Edwards has been with me for 5 years. It's the last COVID year for him. Jameer Jefferson's a 22-year-old sophomore. I don't know how that happened, but Andrew Hedrick and Luke McBride, and we just got great player leadership on our team, and they're helping make me look better than I am. So give them a ton of credit. Our staff's done a good job, and Michael Shoemaker, new assistant, Cole Carter, and Mason Alker. So really proud of our team and our coaching staff, and hopefully we can keep it going.
Well, yeah, and it obviously was a heck of a week for you because you got to watch Trent go for a triple double earlier this week, and then obviously a top 25 win tonight, and then and then I watched the game, and I'm still going to butcher his name after hearing it so much tonight because he went for 29, but I know he got Alanis Pachulius. Did I get it close?
Yeah, that wasn't even close, but good effort. That was a great effort.
I knew after watching. I knew after 100 watching it or being pronounced 100 times today, I was still going to butcher it. But even then, he went for 29 points and 9 rebounds, 3 steals, and 3 assists tonight. And it just seems like, even after all the names listed off and guys out, you guys have different guys stepping up every night, and that helps. One, it makes it hard to scout, but but it's got to be fun watching different guys step up too.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, Al Petulus is
Petulous.
the name. Yeah, Petulus.
Whew.
And we just got losing Drew Lutz last year, All American point guard. 4 out of my 5 years here at Bethel, I've had an All American point guard. Drew Lutz for 2 of them, and Trevion Cruz for the other 2. And this year was interesting in that we may not have that All American guy, but we've got 7, 8, 9 guys that can play, and so we're focusing on max effort and tempo and playing fast. And I think one area where we might have an advantage. I know there's a lot of teams in our league that have good depth, but I think we've kind of showed it here with having some guys out that guys can step up and play. And so excited to get some of these guys back here, hopefully soon. But yeah, different guys step up each night. Trent Edwards, triple double the other night. One of the things I said in the locker room after the game, Trent's been with me 5 years, and we've had some tough times. His first couple years, our culture just wasn't great, to be quite honest. And we had some guys that just didn't fit the culture of what we're trying to do, but man, he stayed positive all through that, and just leadership and being together, and so for somebody like that that's been through some tough times to have some success, I was really happy for him. And and then get Luke McBride's a sophomore, and he's had some great moments, and Jameer Jefferson, just his energy and leadership, and he just kind of brings an edge to our team that I think is beneficial. So, excited about the depth that we have, and it only gets harder.
Well, yeah, and I guess I'll jump in right there because when you say it only gets harder, you're not lying because you guys are finishing 2024 with maybe the hardest schedule the rest of the way of 2024 because I was looking at this earlier and you guys finished up 2024 with everybody and I say receiving votes or ranked right now, but there's a very, very good chance that every one of these teams may finish out the year ranked at some point in 2024. But heck of a road the rest of the way out. Probably very good, or probably feels very really good. You got today's or win today over Huntington to start this because that 7-game trip. Just to name a few, I know you probably look at one game and then probably end it, but. Looking ahead here, you got Georgetown, Indiana Wesleyan, St. Francis, Florida Memorial, Ave Maria, Cornerstone, just to end 2024 before you turn the page in January. So, heck of a road ahead. I know you got Georgetown coming up this week. A team that has great tradition as well, and for people that are on the thing, we're about 1,100 deep right now, but we haven't talked about a lot of ARC ratings yet, but you're gonna get a chance to get a really good ARC win as well. So, do you guys talk about ARC ratings at all, or you guys kind of just treat it as a game and go from there?
Yeah, I mean, ARC ratings is a part of it, and as Crossroads League teams, we're trying to schedule those teams, and so I was fortunate that. Coach Briggs at Georgetown scheduled us for a couple years here. They came to our place last year, and we'll go to their place this Tuesday. Kind of a short turnaround here. So pleased that we're able to play this game. We don't want to play them; they don't want to play us. League to league, Mid South and Crossroads. So,
yeah.
But I think it's good for both leagues. It's good for our ARC. If we're able to get a win, they're able to get a win. It helps our conferences and. But yeah, I think Coach Michael Shoemaker, one of my assistants on our staff, he looked at the strength of schedule. I think we have the number 6 strength of schedule going forward, from here on out. I'm thinking, what 5 teams have a better schedule? But, we're number 13 Huntington today on the road, and at number 5 Georgetown, number 3 Indiana Wesleyan coming to our place after that. St. Francis is, I think, 8-1.
Yeah.
Florida Memorial, I think, is ranked 18th, maybe. Ave Maria was ranked, and then Cornerstone receiving votes. So that's a gauntlet. And we want to schedule tough teams, and to prepare us for our league and the gauntlet that is our league. If we're fortunate to make the national tournament, I think our league helps us. When we get to that point, hopefully. But yeah, we're excited about it, and Again, I feel good about our team, man. We're smart, we're tough, we're experienced, and it goes to show. I think I said this earlier. I was talking to someone else. You know, we won 20 games last year. We're a national tournament team. We won a game in the national tournament. We have 10 players back from last year's team. 6 out of our top 8. We got picked 7th in our league. It just shows you how good our league is from top to bottom, and that's no knock on us. It's just how good our league is from top to bottom.
Unbelievable. That's crazy to hear. I got 2 questions for you, Steve. One of them is about your team, and the other one is something you kind of just touched on last year with the national tournament, kind of about another team. But with your team, I'm looking at your cumulative box score right now, and followed you guys some in the past, played you obviously once a couple of years ago. You correct me if I'm wrong. Is this team a lot more maybe interior based than your previous teams? Because I'm looking at your 3-point numbers. Obviously percentage wise, 30% right now, and making just a little over 5 a game. Typically, I feel like you guys would be closer to that 10 number, but you're still super efficient from the field, over 50% as a team. You're 16 assists a game, barely 10 turnovers. So whatever you're doing is working. I guess I'm just asking, did you kind of have a stylistic change, or is that just kind of how the roster shook this year, or is that something that you expect to kind of regress more to the norm as we progress on?
Man, that's a great question. Gosh, I don't know how to answer that one. I love recruiting shooters. I want guys that can make shots, and I think we've got some on our roster. We had one guy out today, Colin Cumber, that can make shots, and we've got another guy, Austin Kreit, that's going to get it going at some point. He just hasn't to this point. Luke McBride's the one guy that's been consistent. And last year we were 8th in the country in field goal percentage. We made, I think, just 6 threes a game. It was my least made threes per game that I've had in my 5 years. Now going into year 6, I thought we'd be a little bit better in that area. We just haven't gotten it going to this point. And, I don't know, maybe some of the sets and stuff that we're doing, and we've got great 2-point field goal percentage shooters. And like today, last year, Preston Phillips, was 72% from 2 last year. James Anderson was 64% from 2. Neither one of those guys played today, unfortunately, but we've got other guys. Al Petulis right now, who you mentioned earlier, he's shooting 72% from 2 right now. So we're finding ways to get good shots, and I think a part of it's our movement. And I'll give huge props to Trent Edwards. He's our 5th-year guy, point guard. The guy just gets paint touches. And when he gets in there, he makes good decisions. And Al Petulis and Jameer Jefferson and those guys have been the recipient of a lot of those. And so I think our movement's been good. And we've got guys, we don't have that stud All-American guy. So we're just sharing the ball well. And regardless of whether you have an All-American or not, it's all about, I had a head coach, Rick Bird, who I played for at Belmont. I was asking him this fall, we'd lose that All-American point guard. I don't know how we're going to get offense this year. And he goes, it doesn't matter. It's all about getting the best shot each possession. And so that's kind of what we focused on. And our guys have played to that. And, we pass up good shots for great shots. And I try to stay out of the way, let them go, not screw it up.
Yeah, I mean, you're shooting 52% from the field. So again, I wasn't trying to point out something you weren't doing well. It was more so just kind of used to your team having a little bit more shooting. But I know me and you would
Yeah.
both sign up for our team shooting 50% from the field for the whole year if we could. Who cares how many threes we're taking? If we're shooting 52%, then we're going to be over a point per possession, which is going to lead to a lot of wins.
Yeah, for sure.
Second question I had for you was, you mentioned your national tournament win last year. You guys beat LSU Alexandria, correct?
We did. Yep.
Yeah, so that was a team that got hot really at the end of last year, and then this year kind of has stayed hot. After playing them, preparing for them, did you expect them to kind of come into this year and be really good? I honestly haven't watched them play a lot. I did see a little bit of their Freed Hardman game. I don't know if you followed them at all this year, or if you remember much from their team last year, but just talk about kind of preparing for them, playing them, and then kind of things that you think they do well, which is kind of shown why they've had so much success this year to start off.
Man, yeah, I follow Billy D and listen to his podcast almost, every day or every other day. And, And man, he's talked about LSUA a ton, and Cashy Nat, that guy can play. And he really hurt us last year in the tournament. Al Petros, we think is a really good defender, and he is. And gosh, he's struggling on Cashy Nat. But yeah, those guys, a lot of guys back, and I think they're talented, well coached, and they're athletic, and so it's a huge win for us. And I think playing teams like Georgetown, we played University of Northwestern Ohio, Rio Grande, that play that kind of style that LSUA plays. So that really helped us in the national tournament. That's why we try to schedule those teams early, because we don't get a ton of that in the Crossroads. Crossroads just is a different style. But no, I'm not surprised at all by the success they're having, and yeah, I could see them, having a really good year and potentially making a run in the tournament.
Yeah, that's we actually talked about. I don't know if you were listening at all earlier, but just some of these teams that are in some of the smaller leagues that have to get out and schedule all around the country, and that was one of the things we actually didn't talk about was we kind of talked about roughing and different styles or different just leagues that are called differently, and that experience, and then we talked about getting out and seeing different. Get in front of different Raiders and that benefit. But, different styles of play is another one that just getting out and seeing different styles of play that you may see at the national tournament's a big benefit to some of these teams as well. So that's a good point in there as well.
Yeah.
He's going to see two of the most different teams
I know.
ever in Florida when he goes down to Ave Maria and Florida Memorial. Two really good teams, play completely different styles, completely different rosters, but both very good teams, both national tournament teams last year, both really good coaches. I know you came and played us down in Florida at Southeastern a couple of years ago. Is that something you're trying to do every year, every other year? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, we try to do a trip every December somewhere. It's usually Florida. Last year we did. Grace and us went out to Oregon Tech to play them in Bushnell. The previous year, Bushnell and Oregon Tech came to Grace and played both of us. So that was kind of our big trip. But yeah, try to, it gets cold up here in northern Indiana. So when it gets to after finals, our finals are December 9th through the 12th. And so we're going to, I think our last game, I'm trying to think here, is St. Francis on the 7th. So we'll do our finals the 9th through 12th, and then man, we're catching a plane and heading down to sunny Florida, and for about 5 days we'll play those games on the front end, 16th and 17th, and then have a couple of days just to relax and hang out, some team bonding type stuff. But I love the Sun Conference is so good and challenging, and teams that, again, if you're fortunate to make the national tournament, you could see it in the national tournament. And it's good to see different styles. And I know those teams were going to be good. And gosh, when we scheduled them, they were good, but we didn't think they'd quite be this good. Both picked, first and second in their league, and off to good starts. And, Jamie Copeland's a good friend of mine. We kind of connected, I don't know, 10, 12, 14 years ago or so, just on the, at Final Fours and that type of thing. And, so he's a good friend. My wife's good friends with his wife, and so kind of have had that connection. And then Florida Memorial just being somewhat close by, and just trying to get a couple games down there. I wish we had at least one. I wish we had one of those as a neutral game, but hey, why not? Let's go play on the road and see what we can do.
You're gonna play them both at their place.
Yeah, why not?
I just assumed it was a classic. I didn't know you were that crazy.
I was kind of hoping it was a classic, and last couple of years I've had my assistant kind of take over the scheduling, or at least the communication part of it. I'm a part of it, but when I heard that, it's not a classic. Okay, we're gonna play on the road both games. Oh, why not? So, but I feel better now. Where we're at now, just as how our team's playing, and but it's one game at a time, and we'll see what we can do. I know Florida Memorial's got from what I've heard, a beautiful arena, and
Aves is brand new. Aves is a year old, so
that's cool. That'll be fun.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming on and talking about your team a little bit. Obviously, we we already said it, but congratulations on a great start to the year, and hopefully for you guys, you'll be full strength here soon, and but it sounds like even without them, you guys are playing some good basketball. But hopefully, yeah, maybe they'll be able to enjoy some hot or some warm weather with you guys here on a good trip.
Yeah, no doubt. Junior Chase, appreciate you having me, and I've enjoyed listening to some of these shows, and keep doing great work.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, thanks, man.
See you, Steve.
Yeah, bye.
Got another NEI over D2 win here. Chase got Jamestown got a big win over Northern State 79-64.
Okay, Jamestown last year NAI.
Yep, last year in the NEI, and I know they got a heavy D2 schedule as they make that transition into D2 next year. But Silas Benyon with 19 points, 4 rebounds. I know he was at Jamestown last year, but former LC State, I believe all league. I can't remember if he was. I think he was first team all league over there. But good little player. But another good outing out of him. So yeah, they got a D2 win for them. That's a good win for them. Got Southwestern up 55-53 on St. Mary right now. So with 8 minutes left to go in that game.
That one's not showing up on Presto like live scoreboard, I guess. They must do their stats through a different platform.
Yeah. College of Idaho is off and running against Embry-Riddle, 21-13. I know a team I know a team you know very well, and they've actually got, I think they got a couple sneaky wins here this year, or at least they've played some teams close. Is Northern New Mexico? They're up 62-59 over Park Gilbert right now, but I know they've been playing some decent basketball here to start the year as well.
Yeah, let me pull up their schedule. I remember seeing they beat North American the other day because my former assistant's the head coach there.
Yeah, I knew that too. Yeah, I don't know why. I just feel like I feel like I've maybe seen them either win some games or been real close in some games. So
let's see. Yeah, beat North American, and then obviously got a chance to win tonight. Other than that, just kind of been hanging with teams. They play a lot of guys. They play really hard.
yeah.
So that's why sometimes their games they get beat, by 20 or more because nobody's getting in a rhythm or a groove. And other times they're just hungry and they kind of smell some blood in the water and they just keep going. They never get tired. Their coach Jesus, he does a really good job motivating them.
Yeah.
And they definitely have that underdog mentality. He does himself too. He's talked to me about that. They also play a really heavy D2 schedule because the closest NAI to their campus is over 4 hours away.
Yeah.
So they really don't have a lot of choices on who they're playing.
Yeah. Just looking for some teams out of the Continental there that can maybe see who can maybe grab one of those 2 bids out of that league. So
it's actually going to be a 1 bid league this year.
Oh, is it down? Are they below 10 teams now?
They have 10 teams in it this year. This is a really unique, weird rule. So 2 of the teams are new to the NAI, which you would think that means that they're not eligible for postseason play, but they actually are. But they're not eligible towards counting toward the total your league has. So they have 10 teams, but it's operating as if they have 8 from a bid perspective. So they only get 1 bid, but those 2 new teams can get that 1 bid.
Oh man, I gotta update my my bracketology stuff then. Cool, good to know. That's why I pay you the big bucks, man.
I know, huge money. The one team that we should shout out in the CAC, I know they have not had a lot of success thus far this year. Arkansas Baptist is 5-0.
Yeah.
We played them last year in the first round of the conference tournament. Played them in the regular season as well. They've improved significantly. They definitely have. So being 5-0 on the season to start is good for them. Want to give them a shout out.
Yeah. They're just a tough team.
Spartanburg Methodist.
So
Yeah, you're right. They are. Spartanburg Methodist has played a bunch of games already. They've been in a ton of games. I think they lost to Cumberland's Kentucky today. I think they're going to be. I think they're going to be one of the better teams in that league. Florida College is record wise not where they want to be. They did hang with Georgetown yesterday, lost by 9. I think they'll be in the mix for that bid for that league.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, no, I'm obviously you're in the know, so we'll lean on you when that gets going too. But we got Coach Arrowwood on, so we'll bring him in. So, what's up, Coach? How are you?
How we doing, guys? Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, no, appreciate you joining us here. I know it was a busy weekend for you guys out there.
Yeah, Bevo is a different beast, but it's a good thing. And for me, it's a little bit nice because I don't handle the anxiety of game days really well, right? I mean, they're miserable. You're just kind of waiting. But Bevo, it's kind of great. We got a bunch of different groups tailgating out in the parking lots, and you're seeing a lot. I'm an alumnus, so I'm seeing people I haven't seen in a long time. And then it's Hall of Fame weekend, so you got the Hall of Fame banquet, and you got to really trust your assistants with doing some things because you're going everywhere, and then you always get excited for that tip off. So from our understanding, it's the longest consecutive college basketball tournament in the country. Even the Maui Invitational has missed a year or two. This was our 41st year consecutively of the Bevo Francis tournament. So pretty special.
Yeah, that's awesome. I actually remember when you were on 2 years ago. I believe that stat was still running then. So
Yeah,
I kind of remember that. So that's awesome. And I know for everybody that's on right now, we're almost at almost at 1,300 deep right now. So everybody that's on currently, you're about to get a good NEI history lesson, more than what you just got there, because it's kind of where I want to start at. I thought it was a good chance. I think this platform, not just our platform in general, but the live show, is a good opportunity for us to get out. And the NEI is obviously rich in tradition, and all the way across the board, from its roots, but also Bevo Francis is a big part of the NEI tradition. Not just from the crazy scoring records, and you can talk about whatever you want to talk about with Bevo. I'll let you take the floor, but just the tradition of him at Rio and all that. I thought this would be a great opportunity coming off the Bevo Francis Invitational, to kind of maybe start with that before we got into your team and stuff. Maybe talk about him and the university, and go from there.
Yeah, the thing about Bevo is we've got to keep this story going. I was so blessed when I was a player at Rio that we had a lot of those guys still alive. So, when we have this luncheon and you've got a lot of them coming back, and you've still got the, Coach Newt Oliver and their families coming back, and you hear about the records, you're like, oh, this dude was a bucket, right? 116, 113. And then you start seeing, what he did. So if Rio was an NCAA team, he would have shattered Pistol Pete's record for most points averaged in a season. And he did it. We had 12 Division I teams on that schedule, so anything you can think of as a small college basketball player, he did it, right? He sold out Madison Square Garden. He was the most polarizing name, Time Magazine. So I had somebody who's a basketball historian tell me, said, take Victor Wembanyama, take Caitlin Clark, combine them, and that is the popularity that Bevo Francis had during a time when NCAA basketball had no trust in a national level. There's a lot of historians who say Bevo Francis and that team saved college basketball because they're coming off the most polarizing figure in Adolph Rupp and Kentucky Wildcats in a horrible betting scandal. Yeah. So you're talking about shaving points and all this, and all of a sudden this dude in floppy socks from a Rio Grande that everybody pronounces Rio Grande They're driving to Madison Square Garden and to Villanova and all these places, and this guy is just crazy. So an amazing story. And we can talk about his records. We can talk about his points, right? He was so ahead of his time. He played with the flair. He was 6'9", somewhere like a combination between Magic Johnson and Dirk Nowitzki, right? Like just a phenomenal player at 6'9". But what people don't talk about is, the University of Rio Grande had 89 students in it at that time. And there was an active plan being pursued on how we shut down that university. Or it wasn't a university at the time, it was a college. We had 89 students, and there was no way to pay the faculty. They hadn't paid the faculty in 2 months. And there's 2 or 3 road trips. Those guys bring back $10,000 and $12,000 checks, and they're eating bologna sandwiches in the station wagon and traveling across the East Coast. So the University of Rio Grande, it wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Bevo and those teams. And, that sounds great, but you think about the history and all of the players that have came. And, there's very, very few basketball players in the history of the game that can make that claim that they impacted more people than what Bevo Francis did. And now our population is booming, and we're about to have the biggest population growth we've had in 5 years. So all of that's due to Bevo. Got a chance to get to know his wife, Jean Francis. Bevo was very humble, very, very soft spoken. She was not. She they had a young child when he moved in there. They lived in an apartment with the head coach. Bevo is a legend. I would love, Disney owns the rights to the movie. I'd love to see a movie made on it. But you hear the 113 points, you hear the 116 points, and that kind of draws everybody in. When you get to know that team and the camaraderie they had, and how much respect they had for each other, even in their 70s, that was a very, very special team.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, even every couple of years now, from talking to you a couple of years ago about it, it's just cool to see and hear again. I mean, I could hear it probably every week, and just the history buff that I am. And one, I just love history in general, whether it be sports or NEI or whatever. But just very, very cool. And I grew up being a Pistol Pete fan, so it's every time you make that correlation, it's just very, very cool. 113 points in a game before the 3-point line is just insane, though. I mean, it's
so and get this. So he scored 116 in a year that we went 39-0. But they said our schedule wasn't tough enough. He did against us versus a junior college. So the next year is when we scheduled multiple Division I's. And so he scored 113 points on Hillsdale. Now, if you equate that to the 3-point line and from where he was shooting, and people have looked at it, I think they said he would have scored 146 points. Also, he was a 90% free throw shooter. So Hillsdale decided late in that game they were just going to foul him. There was no 2-shot bonus. There was no 1-and-1 bonus. If you fouled someone, they got 1 shot. That was it. So they were just making an educated decision of, let's just foul this dude so he can only score 1 point instead of scoring 2, and that's it. So, but he'll be the first one to tell you, like, my teammates went to me and told me to keep shooting. Everything I was throwing up was going in. So, but very few times can you see someone who was that talented with the humility he had, and I think that's what made that group so special.
Coach, is there film of that game? Do you know?
So I don't think there is raw full game film. There is broken film. And if I'm not mistaken, Disney owns the rights to all of that. So, when they did it's not 30 it was Sports Century, I think. A little bit before that, Disney bought the rights to the Bevo Francis story. So, there's some clips you can see, but as far as full game footage of that one, I've not been able to see the full game footage of it. So, he was very athletic. He was long. He was super skilled. like most great scorers at that generation, had a 12-foot hook shot that you couldn't block. But he had, when you watch his jump shot, it kind of reminds me like of Clyde Drexler's jump shot. As a kid, I was like Clyde Drexler was a different jump shooter. Like he would jump, hang, bend his knees up behind himself, and then shoot. Bevo kind of had some of that, and he was 6'9" and shot that ball over top of his head. So he was definitely a little bit above his time.
Yeah, it's insane. Going through and even watching some of the clips that are online and stuff like that. And obviously, small college basketball has, the award, the small college player of the year award named after him, and rightfully so. It's just very, very cool to see his name get carried on as well, and hopefully, even past our time, not just the stories, but like you said, hopefully Disney will pick it up, or they have the rights already, but hopefully they'll actually come out with the story. I think it would be, even though it's maybe not a name that somebody would recognize in this day and age, outside of us, and us NAI people. I think it's a good enough story, nonetheless, that people would still enjoy it, and it would still be.
It seems fake. It seems like it's made up, and like some of our guys like, come on, coach. And then you start to show them the stuff, but there's a generation though. I've been blessed, right? Because there's a generation that still remembers it. And anywhere I go, I had a former, I was a prep school coach before I got this job, and I was on a visit with the former player at Weber State, and I'm in Salt Lake City, and I've got my Rio Grande shirt on, and some older gentleman comes up and says, "Wait, Rio, is that Rio?" And I'm like, I'm in Utah. I'm like, they know Rio? I was like, ain't no way. I was like, you from Ohio? He was like, no. I played against Bevo Francis.
Oh, nice.
And so we start having this conversation, and he was like, look, he's the greatest talent I've ever seen. Like I've never seen a talent like that. It was amazing. So he was polarizing. And if you talk to somebody who remembers and was alive during those times, he was the biggest name in sports. And it's like, you take Caitlin Clark and Victor Wembanyama at their peak and combine them, and that was him. He was polarizing to everyone. So pretty cool story.
Coach, did you say you had some questions for him?
Yeah, Coach. Nice to meet you, by the way.
Absolutely.
I have a kind of funny question. I don't know why I always kind of stumble into these. You actually touched on it. So what is your kind of go-to response for when someone does say Rio Grande or Rio Grande?
So Rio in Ohio. Boom. That's as simple as it is. And then that lets me, especially if it's a recruit, they're like, Rio. I was like, Rio in Ohio. And they're like, oh. And then I just start hitting them with, look, we're in the heartbeat of Appalachia. And then I start selling them on exactly what Rio Grande is, right? So, it's difficult. Most people think we're in Texas. But yeah, Rio in Ohio is typically the go-to.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know at one point I was calling it Rio Grande, and I don't remember when I learned it, but I know I thought it, I know probably everybody probably did at one point. So I know you have probably a standard response you use.
Yeah. There's usually two things that people know Rio Grande for: Bevo Francis, and if anyone's eating at a Bob Evans restaurant. That's typically, because which Bob Evans is a little bit more popular in the East Coast and a little bit in the Midwest, and that's about as far out. But if you go to a Bob Evans restaurant, you see this beautiful farm and all this stuff. As soon as you walk in it, well, that's like literally adjacent to our campus. So the original Bob Evans farm, was right on Rio Grande's land. So, but most people either know Bevo Francis or Bob Evans. It's kind of our job now to maybe get some basketball rolling here, so we can they can know us for the new generation. So,
I was looking at your schedule, Coach. You guys had a really good start to the year. Only loss to the guy we just had on, a really good undefeated Bethel team.
yeah.
It's not your next actual game. I guess it's you got one non-NAI opponent, but sticking to the name of the show, let's talk about your next NAI opponent, Cumberland's Kentucky. This is a team that I played in the national tournament second round last year. They're undefeated right now. I don't know how much you've looked forward to them yet, but that's going to be a really, really good game and a really good test for you guys. How much can you talk about that kind of matchup right now at this point?
Well, got so much respect for him and his program and kind of how they do things. And, he was a little bit of, I was a little bit, I guess, more of a traditionalist. And, we wanted to build our program up a little bit. And it's a struggle, man. We just kept really tough for us to get really good high school kids to stay past their sophomore year, and then and we'd lost so many kids. And he's got a great program. He's done a great job, and he's adapted pretty well to it. But it's also, they broke us last year. They were the team that broke us. I thought we had a really good start last year. We lost by 5 at Indiana Wesleyan, but played about 35 really good minutes of basketball. And then lost about 3 to Point Park. And in a game we played really well. I'm not a miss shot coach. We missed a lot of shots, and we were up 4 late, and they made some big shots to beat us. We're in a good spot, and we're up on them 13 with about 5, not 5 minutes, but about 13 minutes to go. And then they just buzzsawed us, and we never recovered from that. And so, individually, I'm really, really excited to get back to see where we're at. But we have to schedule some of these games. Our league, if you guys give me the opportunity, I'm going to jump on my soapbox and scream at people about how good our league is. But we have to schedule these games and give ourselves the opportunity to play against teams that I think, are some premier teams. I think he can make a deep run this year. They got a lot of guys back, so we're very, very familiar with them. And they play a really difficult style to guard. If you're going to make a run in the national tournament, you got to play different style. You got to play good Mid-South teams. You got to play good Crossroads teams. You got to get some of those teams from the WAC in our footprint here. So when you get to the national tournament, you got a chance. You understand what that's like. But can't look forward. We're one day at a time. That's all we can do. Good goodness, if you've watched us play, we haven't been able to really put 40 minutes together, so we can't be looking forward past anything. But I really, really like this group. I think we can be really good, and that'll be a big test for us.
Yeah, and just kind of looking at your schedule here, and Coach alluded to it, and we'll talk a little bit about your team too here. But looking at your schedule since we're on it, you kind of went strategic. Here with kind of your arc scheduling, it looks like was that kind of purposeful?
Yeah, we have to. Yeah. I mean, look, so I'm going to go ahead and go into our conference a little bit here, because I get really, really frustrated when people talk. But all I hear from people is, but you guys got to make a run. If you want a higher seed, you got to advance deeper. The hardest thing to do in NAIA basketball is to win on the Saturday of the first round on a number 1 seed's home court.
Yeah.
Like that is the hardest thing to do. So I don't think it's right that the best team in our league year after year gets an 8 or a 9 seed. 3 years ago, IU Kokomo goes into William Penn when they were, I think, the overall number 1 seed and wins, right? They were the overall 3rd ranked team, and we're up 7 and couldn't hang on to it. Point Park, I think, would have had a good shot, but they're at Freed Hardman on that Saturday. They're up at halftime and can't. So, I think if we can somehow find a way for at least one team in our league to get on that 6 line, that 5 line, I think that really changes the trajectory of our league. So the only way we're going to do that, we play in the toughest arc in the country by far. We're not going to be ranked. It is what it is. We have no teams receiving votes, right? I don't understand. I know we didn't play great against Bethel in the opening game, but Bethel was pretty daggone good, right? How do you go to Grace and win and can't get a receiving vote? So I don't understand a lot of things. So you've got to do work in your arc. You've got to do work to where they can't place you lower, So 2 years ago when we had a really good team, we played at Lords, we played at Rochester. We had some big wins within our arc and the WAC and the Crossroads, to where it was really difficult for them to put us lower than those teams. I think that's what we have to do. You got to play some good teams in your arc. So if you can get some of them wins, we can start getting pushed up to the top 7, 6 of that arc. And if you do that, then your national tournament seed will reflect in that.
Yeah, you're 100% right about that. And we were in the same position. My first year that we were pretty good. A couple of years ago, we were a 9 seed in the national tournament, and we were at Loyola New Orleans, and so we were fortunate enough to win our first game, and then we lost to the national champions, and then kind of learned from that. The next year, I made sure that we played a bunch of teams in our arc, and if you play your arc chair, that's also a helper, right? And if you beat someone like Grace, that's always going to give you kind of some bonus points throughout the year. And once you kind of have a high arc rating, then that arc rater is going to be advocating for you in the room on the selection show. So you're 100% right. That's how you get the better seed. That's how you get the better matchup, and that's how you can make that deep run that you're talking about. So you're definitely on the right track.
Yeah, and I mean, we've got a special thing at NAI. I think Division I, March Madness. Quit talking about so much expansion. Like, it's the greatest tournament in the world. That's not outside of that. We do it better than anybody else. The NAI national tournament's better than D2. It's better than D3. We've got a good thing going here. So the arc is everything. Yeah, I said that about top 25, but it doesn't really mean anything, right? It's all about your arc, and our arc is the most respected arc in the country, in my opinion. And I think it's my opinion because I hear of people, who talk about it, right? So you got to play it. And, I do think some of those chairs understand it. If you go to Indiana Wesleyan and you take that a little bit into muddy waters, I think you get some respect from it. I don't think you have to win everything. I think not being scared to go and play some of those games, I think that carries some weight, and it helps when people don't really understand our league that much.
Yeah, Coach, there's one thing I want to ask you, since we're kind of touched on it, and it's something that I'm thinking about myself right now as I'm scheduling for next year, since I don't have much else to do. But so for you guys, we're talking about this ARC stuff. We're talking about, how it obviously the analytics are a big part too, with the RPI and the strength of schedule. With the non-NAI games not being factored into your analytics anymore. So that's not going to count towards it'll count towards your winning percentage, but it won't count towards your winning percentage in the analytic formulas. Are you going to eliminate or really, really scale down on scheduling teams like that in the future?
100%.
Because I don't think you really have an option, right?
No, it's you don't. And I was a little bit worried about that, but I didn't think it would get through this year. I thought it was going to get through. Yeah, so it was very late. So, but no, I mean, yeah, it will. It'll definitely be something that we will look. Probably max of 2 a year, max. If that. So, but where we're located, it's really difficult sometimes to find non-conference games because, and now the AAC changing their format to where it's not like a double round robin and freeing up some of those teams, that helps. The WAC is still really heavy in conference, so it's tough to get some of those non-conference. Yeah. Mid-South only's got 7 teams, so we could play every team in the Mid-South all we want, but I don't want to do that. So
below 500, yeah.
Yeah, but our schedule last year was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. If you look at our schedule, we played Cumberland, we played Pikeville, we played Indiana Tech, we played Marion. I'm missing a couple, but our schedule was brutal. But I thought we were going to have a pretty good team, and I was like, hey, we got to find a way to get on the 5 or 6 line. We have to. So, and I thought, well, if we don't get on the 5 or 6 line, 12, win one game, you may have a better shot, than being the 8 seed. So, but yeah, back to your point, yeah, the non-NAIs, I'll get away from pretty much as I can.
Yeah, I think you have to. Just the way that they're not going to count. If you think about it, if a team's playing 5 or 6 of them, and you finish the year, 18-10, you're going to be viewed at, let's say you played 6, you're going to be 12-10, and
Yeah.
in all your analytic numbers, so you're going to
Yep.
look really bad. So
Yep.
I think whether it was intentional or not, that's going to be what teams are going to have to do. And if people don't do it, then they're going to have a rude awakening when that first RPI comes out and they see where they're at.
Yeah, and I hope there's some consideration in that, from some people, because that's going to hurt us. That's going to hurt us, and I think it's going to hurt a lot of teams. So, but we'll definitely adjust to it moving forward. It's the most non-NAIs I've played since I've been here, so it was absolute miserable timing. But yeah, moving forward, maybe one. And then try to fill it out. The bright note of that, though, I think you'll see a lot of NAIs doing that. So I think you'll see a lot more classics or a lot more, double weekend games. I think that'll be kind of be filling up in November. Unfortunately, I think you're going to miss some of the standalone games, and I think those are big time. I think our game versus Cumberland's big, right? I think some of those standalone games in December. Or early November, I think those are big games to kind of gauge some teams too.
Yeah, the classics are becoming. I mean, they were already big. I mean, the 4-teamers especially.
Yeah.
But we're seeing a lot of the early season ones, especially the 6 and 8-teamers that are.
Yeah.
Because we have so many teams. Like, I mean, you talk to Mid-South, you talk about even the GSAC out west there. That those teams are having to schedule anybody and everybody as well. We're seeing Arizona Christian and Masters travel basically everywhere to play games. We're seeing those guys having to travel all over the country to play games and play in some of these big classes too. We talked about Freed Hardeman earlier on the show that they're playing in the Battle of the Beach on Monday, Tuesday next week, and then turn around and play in the show on Saturday, Sunday. So, some of these smaller leagues are really having to go find unique ways just to schedule games, period. It's unfortunate with some of the smaller leagues. So it'll be interesting to see kind of moving forward, how some of that works out. But if you want to play in one of the nicer gyms in the country next year, Coach, there's a new school in Georgia. I don't know if you've heard of it, but their coach. I don't know.
There you go.
New program, not new school.
Big juggernaut coming is what's happening. Yeah.
No,
Maybe Juggernaut Arena.
Yeah.
We're not a Juggernaut team. We got 4 players right now, so we're technically probably the worst team in the.
Hey, that's about all I had. That's about all I had this past May, so that's okay. Adapt or die, I guess.
A lot of people are having to do that now. A lot of people are having to do that now. That's what I had to do my last year at my last school.
Yeah.
We had our team last year was pretty much all new guys, except for a handful. So it is a new era, like you said, adapt or die for sure.
Yeah, and I was at a prep school, and we were able to get some younger guys and develop it and do it a little bit different. Had success that way, but I knew we had kind of reached a point where, like, okay, we've got some really high level guys. We got a lot of high major, mid major guys. This isn't going to be sustainable. And I was more of a program guy, so I was really, really wanting to get at the 4-year level. And now I'm here, and it was easier to build a program at the prep school now than it is in college basketball, but it is what it is. I mean, you don't complain about it. You do the best you can. And when you get players like we have a Trey Robertson, who, we pray that he sticks around and comes back a 4th year, you need to be extremely thankful that you have them, because those are rare. So, but we've been very blessed. We found some really, really hungry, some bought-in guys that have came to our program this year. So I'm definitely not knocking the transfer portal this year. It taketh and it giveth away, or taketh and it giveth. So we're very happy what it's given us. So.
Well, and it's I mean, jumping into your team a little bit here, I did want to talk about some of them. It's um, obviously you talked about Trey a little bit, but I mean, for the most part, you have a pretty well balanced team, I would say. But it's very unique in the fact that you basically have three guys that lead you in scoring every game, the same three guys every game, but then you have such a balance in scoring behind them. It's pretty cool to look at. You have your three guys, but nobody is higher than 15 points per game, even though it's usually one of those three guys in scoring, and then you have five guys that are basically between 10 and 15 points per game. Just unique scoring balance there. But you guys got a lot of your transfers that have been, especially your D2 guys, that I feel like have been, and I know that was something, that I remember you saying early on in some of the magazine prep, that you thought would provide a lot of experience for you guys. And not just experience. I think you even made a comment maybe about just size and strength and some of that. And I think that helps some of your maturity early on. In some of these big games where you kind of needed that. But I thought it helped you guys defensively and rebounding and stuff, compete on the glass and compete defensively in some of these bigger games.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. And we've got so many new names. It's the least experience from a Rio Grande basketball standpoint I've had since I was in my first year. But if you look at it, Milan Square has 60 starts at Walsh and 3 national tournament appearances at Walsh. Eric Butler started out at the Division I level and then had over 60 starts at the Division II level. Jalen Johnson was a 2-year Division II starter at Glenville State. So, it's not like we're bringing in guys who, they just weren't really getting much time. And they were, guys that were, they're looking for a little bit bigger role, but it's not, it's not like they haven't been playing. And college basketball experience, especially at the small college level, there's nothing better than that. And also those leagues are really physical, good leagues, So talking about the Mountain East Conference, really good league. The GMAC's a really good league. And then, going the JUCO route is a Hail Mary sometimes, but boy, we got really, really lucky that we got 2 guys that they get it, and they're both a little bit older. So, those pieces all coming in and going together, and we meshed them with some kind of Southeastern Ohio guys who really compete, love it, got a big pride for playing for Rio Grande. It's really, really meshed well. I think it speaks a lot to those guys' sacrifice. I mean, we don't have anybody shot hunting. Sometimes we overpass, but I'll live with that more than shot hunting. But the best thing in the world that could have happened our opening weekend. We got ridiculously humbled, and by no means did we look as a staff look past Bethel. Like we thought, like, guys, you have no idea how good this team is. Like, and we got absolutely trucked, and we quit. I mean, we shut down and we quit. But boy, they didn't pout. They were ready to go, and we had to turn around and we had to play Grace, and we tasted what competing for 40 minutes at a high level felt like. Not every team in the country, you can sell that you can get there. Not everybody gets to feel that you can actually do it. So that was really big for us, and we've kind of been heading in the right direction since then.
Yeah, that's you guys definitely started off with a heck of a weekend. Well, heck of a first and second weekend there. Our first, I say first and second, the November 1st and 2nd, all the way back then, and then obviously all the way through this weekend with the Bevo. You guys played a newer NAI there in Carolina University, and then finished with a nice win today against a Lindsey Wilson team that have been playing some good basketball as well.
Man, they can absolutely. I'm telling you, which they did not shoot the ball well versus Tech last night.
Yeah.
And we sold our guys like, hey, like I promise you, like they're the best 3-point shooting in NAI for a reason. And I was a little bit frustrated in game, and then watching film, like we're there. they're just big time shot makers. This is the best team he's had since I've been the coach there.
I agree. Yep.
When,
I
when
do.
they make shots, they can play with it. Like you're going to look, you might look and you may see a night where like, oh, I don't know how that one kind of surprises me. And then you're going to turn around 2 nights later and you're going to see them either beat Georgetown or beat Cumberland or something like that because that they have shot makers all over the court. They have athletes. So that was a big win for us. That was a really, really good win for us. And it was a really good basketball game. At Grace, we were able to really get stops, make the toughness plays, and make all of our free throws down the stretch to win. Tonight, we had an 11-point lead, and we kind of made some defensive mistakes and missed 3 front ends of 1-on-1, and it got tight. But this group was able to still hold on, and Trey Robertson hit a couple clutch free throws, and we were able to get the win.
There's something that I see in y'all's team that jumps off the page to me is, and I kind of want to know if this is just coincidence, which I doubt, or kind of what it is that you do that allows this to be the case. But you guys are only averaging 8.7 turnovers a game, and 3 of your toughest games, Bethel, Grace, and Lindsey Wilson, you had 9, 6, and 5 turnovers. You had 5 turnovers today. I mean, you're getting so many cracks at the goal. With good players, good things are going to happen, and you don't beat yourself. So what are you telling your team? What kind of drills do you do? Is it some type of player you recruit? I mean, how are you guys taking care of the ball so well?
Well, I mean, going back to my 5 years at Taze Valley, and then this is my 5th year, I've only had one team that averaged more than 10 turnovers per game. So I think that stat is just so important. I think it's so important. So, the first drill we do is catching the ball with 2 and 2 and guide hands, and we don't necessarily V cut. We get our top foot across yours and we go meet the ball. And so really the only way we can get it is either you're tougher than me or you foul me. Playing off 2 feet in the paint, and sometimes it's ball control, right? We've played a little bit slower tempo before. The thing that's so unique with this team is I am begging them to play fast. And I told myself, you have to live with some more turnovers. You have to let them take some chances. You're just going to have, because that's better than us being limited on offense like we were at times last year. But this team is able to play up tempo, fast, and still not turn the ball over. I think it's a big, all of us coaches work on the fundamentals of the game, right? This team, they just practice the right way every single day. So we just call them winning habits, right? We just call them offensive winning habits. And, we try to meet everything with 2 hands. We try to be unselfish. We try to tell guys, hey, if you've drawn 2 guys, your job's over. We really like to Barkley, right? We really like to turn perimeter into post up and then read out of that. I think that'll limit some of your in-air live ball turnovers. And kind of a stat within that stat, we want to have less than 3 live ball turnovers every game. And we don't want to have live ball turnovers. So,
yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. A really good answer. Kind of connected to that. What is something that kind of, do you penalize turnovers a lot? Like, is that something that's going to get them pulled really quick in a game? Or if it's not, what kind of is your thing to where it's like, guys, no, I can't do this or I'm getting yanked?
Yeah. So one of my favorite teams, I grew up a big John Beeline fan, like huge. And I loved him with WVU. I was a big WVU fan. And then, but the thing is they would play Villanova, and Villanova would just beat the crap out of them. And they had those 4 guards, and they'd all get in there, jump stop, and do all that, So, but I loved, segue. I loved the 2015 Wisconsin team, and Bo Ryan. If you turned over, you came out. It was real simple, right? If Frank Kaminsky, you turn the ball over, you're coming out of the game. It don't matter, right? It's automatic. And I tried that, and that was the worst thing in the world. Our turnovers went up, So, we just really emphasize the importance of it, and we have standards, right? So, when we practice, we have a standard board, and if you accumulate standards, you're going to get penalized for it. And if we have multiple bad standards, we're going to run the bleachers, right? So, We just get guys that care about winning, right? And if you emphasize that this is a winning thing, then typically they do it. So I wouldn't say I have a penalty. I am a very intense coach, so I don't think they want to see me get quite animated or intense. But yeah, and I think it's more of teaching them how to play and what a winning play is, and then kind of living with the consequences of it. So.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you joining us a late night here. I know. Well, first off, I always appreciate the history lesson for
Mhm.
everybody that's joined us. I know we're almost 1,700 deep here now, but Bevo Francis, anytime we get a chance to talk about Bevo and just the history of the NAI is always great. So it's always cool to hear that, but also get a chance to talk about some Rio basketball too. It's I don't disagree. I think I think we've talked about for a couple years now that come tournament time, the River States teams seem to catch a team or two every year. So
Yeah.
I think that 8-9 seed may not be where everybody wants to be, but
Yeah.
I don't think that the one seeds are too happy to see see a River
No.
State team there
Yeah.
either. So.
I think there's a lot of one seeds that are like, get them on that 5 line. Throw them up. Yeah. Throw them a bone. Get them up
Yeah,
there. But
they'd be okay with you
yeah.
seeing you guys as a 5 seed as well. I think that
Yeah.
you would. You guys have seen enough upsets, I think, already
Yeah.
from that E9 side. But no, it was a pleasure having you on, and first off, obviously a great start to the year. So I know you guys. The River States always baffles me because I know I'm sure you guys have maybe a bye week coming up, maybe in league play, but for one random league game before break, and then you guys really jump into league play right after the
Well,
break.
this is the first time we've done that. So
Okay,
typically we will play 5 league games prior to Christmas break.
I thought,
Um,
and you guys are in
yeah.
divisions this year, right?
We're divisions, but we made the decision we'll play 1 league game prior to January, and then it's nothing. There are no breaks, right? You're playing 2 games a week every week, and it's all conference. So I kind of like that better. It does make a challenge in scheduling around this time because everybody's jumping into league play.
Yeah.
But with the Mid-South, you can schedule some Mid-South teams in there. The WAC has a little bit of a break, so you could always maybe find a WAC team. After Christmas break, we've always played a Crossroads team, right? So, we've played Marion a couple of times. We'll play Mount Vernon this year, right after Christmas break. So, as you do this, you kind of figure out where you can kind of plug and play some of these teams. We'll see how this goes. I think NAI is just like everybody else. Conferences are always changing,
Yeah.
always evolving, always adapting. So we've got to be ready for that. But before you guys let me go, man, thank you guys so much for what you do. Small college basketball in general is pretty good, but the thing that I think have over the big blue dot is NAI is almost like the Big East, right? Basketball is king in NAI. Right? I mean, we have football, and we're adding it at the University of Rio Grande, and we're pumped about it. But NAI is basketball. Like it is a basketball first, and I think the student athletes who play NAI basketball, I think they feel that. I think they get that. And so we've got a really, really special product here. What you guys do is so important for the overall brand of NAI basketball. So I really appreciate you guys.
Well, I appreciate you, Coach, and wishing you guys the best of luck. I know. Like I said, almost midway through the year. I hope we haven't told anybody else this, but we hope everybody else has a great Thanksgiving, and hope you and your team and whatever you guys are doing for Thanksgiving. I know for everybody, it's I know for a lot of coaches, it's finding meals for everybody
Yeah.
being off campus and the cafeteria being shut down. But whatever Thanksgiving looks like for you guys, we hope you guys have a good one and continued success all the way through.
Well, our players are pumped up. We're coming off a win, so the next few days will be a little bit nicer. The turkey's going to taste a lot better. So
That's even better.
yeah. So, but thank you guys.
Thanks, Coach.
See you, Coach.
See you guys.
Updating some scores here, Coach. Before we turn it off here, St. Mary did go on the road and got the win over Southwestern.
No way. Wow.
Yep, got the win there, and then
Is that Southwestern's first loss?
no, they that was their
Did I
second.
miss it?
Um,
Who'd they lose to before that?
let me pull up theirs. Or sorry, that was their first, so they're 5-1.
Okay.
Unless it didn't update. I thought they lost earlier this week. Let me pull it up real quick. Yeah, so they lost to Bethel earlier this week. So they lost twice this
That's
week.
right.
Yep. So
Yep,
that's
sorry.
what they did. So yeah, they lost back-to-back games this week. So yeah, that leaves basically, if you look at the standings here, got Ottawa at 3-0, Oklahoma Wesleyan at 3-0. How about Avila at 3-0? Avila at 3-0. St. Mary at 2-0 are all the four teams at the top of the KCAC right now. So
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out. I just counted 17 unbeaten still. Does that sound right?
yep, 17 now. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. Shout out to Matt Cross.
Uh-huh.
He after everything he did at Texas College last year, and taking them to the postseason. Not an easy thing to do at Texas College, let me tell you.
That's what I've heard. That's what
and
I've
then-
heard.
Yeah, and then has Ottawa at 7-1, 3-0 in the KCAC. So guy can coach. He is getting it done at Ottawa right now. So
Yeah, he really is. Trying to see if any of these undefeated teams play each other. Is there any way, do we know if that happens? Obviously, Cumberland's and Georgetown will eventually. I don't know if that's coming soon.
yep.
I
So
don't know if anyone else would.
try and pull it up. I know. Well, we have one this week. Oh, sorry. I forgot that LSU Alexandria already knocked off Freed Hardeman. Freed Hardeman has one loss, but we do have Freed Hardeman and
ACU?
ACU playing on Tuesday, 10:30 in the morning. For everybody watching right now, if you want to get up, I think that's Central Time too. I'll have to look at the time on that, but I believe it's 10:30 in the morning Central Time for a top 10 showdown. Probably potentially a top 5 showdown. Probably when the new
Could be.
rankings come out. So top 5 showdown, 10:30 in the morning Tuesday morning. If you're watching and need me to send off a note to your boss for you to watch that game, let me know. I'll write a permission slip for you because I will plan on watching that game for sure. But if anybody's at work and needs to figure out how to watch that game at their desk computer, let me know. We'll try to figure that out. So, but that should be a good game. I know. So Montana Tech and ACU play each other in the Cactus Classic in December. I know that. So that should be a really good one. Our Lady of the Lake and LSU Alexandria play each other twice. They play each other at the end of December, I believe, for the first game in the Red River Athletic Conference. So that'll be a good one. Yeah, so we'll have several of these teams matching up here soon. Eastern Oregon and Warner Pacific will eventually match up.
Yep.
Southwest is another team out of the Red River. So
Who's I got a random question for you. Who is your one or two teams that have a below 500 record right now that you think either are really underrated or will come on at the end of the year that you expect to kind of be in the running?
oof. I have to look at who's all below 500. I like Wayland Baptist a lot. I think they'll be. As I was scrolling, I saw them 3-4, so I'll point them out. They obviously, you mentioned them
Madonna's.
earlier. They have some good wins, but some tough losses too. But I think they're a team that is there Indiana Tech's 3-3. I think they're a team that can be. I mean, there's so many of them. I mean, that's that's a question that you could ask in a couple more weeks when that gets a little bit more spread out, because there's so many teams right now that are 500.
I know.
Yeah, there's just too many teams that are 500 and below right now. A lot of teams figuring themselves out right now too. Madonna, I don't know what to think about them right now.
I know. They've played a
Really,
crazy
really
hard
good
schedule,
team.
it seems
Yeah,
like.
really good team that returns a lot of teams from last year. Or really good, or returned a lot of players from last year. Tough schedule too. You think that they'll figure it out. So, I mean, I think that they could be a team. Loyola's down 3 starters, or potential starters. So you got to think that maybe them. Yeah, I mean, those are the two that stick out. But again, you gotta start figuring out, here soon too. So I don't know.
Yep.
I like a lot of these teams out of the. I'll tell you a league we haven't talked about, and we can actually table for next week maybe, or a couple weeks. But several of these teams in the CCAC, I think this is a league that is still trying to the entire league is maybe trying to figure itself out a little bit. Um, but that's gonna be an interesting league to watch this year. I think it's kind of wide open. Um, and I'm not sure that there's a team that's really stood out of it right now. And I could see a team out of there that's maybe hovering around 500, really figuring out second semester and making a deep run. So
Yeah, it's definitely going to look somewhat different, with Olivet being 0-5. I know that's very, very abnormal for that league, obviously for that team. St. X has been good generally. I see them at 4-1. St. Ambrose 5-1. I think that's probably a really good start for them.
yeah,
Calumet 4-1. Indiana Northwest. I always get all the Indiana directional teams mixed up. I don't know
yeah,
if I'm alone in that, but I can't remember which ones are having good years and which ones are having down years. I can't ever remember it.
yeah. And I know I know I know they're at 3-1 right now, but I like St. Francis, Illinois. I think that they I saw the Atar Anabarte. I think that I maybe mispronounced his name, but I know he was the CCAC Player of the Week, Offensive Player of the Week last week. He's back after missing all of last year. He was a first team All League player a couple years ago, or maybe yeah, first team or second team. I can't remember, but anyway, All League player 2 years ago. Um, Really, really good player. I think he'll have a chance to be in the mix for conference player of the year if he's fully healthy. Um, so I think right there, I think St. Francis will be in the mix. But yeah, I think the CCAC is a league that, like I said, we can table for a week or two. Let them figure it out a little bit. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I just like I said, and you mentioned, Olivet, who is a traditional powerhouse in the league's 0-5 right now, so 0-2 in the league. So, you got IU South Bend, who's a team that's won the tournament. I think maybe 3 of the last 4 years, or 3 of the last 5 years, something like that. They're 3-4 overall. So. You got IU Northwest, who is at 4-1 overall. They won. They're the defending champs. So yeah, I think that's a league that to kind of watch this year. Could be a fun league to watch.
Yeah, I think you're right. One team I wanted to shout out that I didn't mention earlier, I was talking about kind of teams that were getting hot or had some big wins. Stillman's won 4 games in a row. They started 0-4, had a tough, open the year schedule, and they ripped off 4 in a row. Three of them have been conference games. So I got a former player that's on their team, so kind of extra. Kind of keeping a closer eye on them, but yeah, that's great for them to get 4 in a row and get back going.
Yeah, and just one more before we leave here. I don't want to. We haven't talked about them at all, and I think it's probably time to mention them because one, they have the leading scorer in the country, and Sean Monroe, but also two, the just from the fact that they are with the new coaching. Jake Dupree is the interim coach currently, not the actual. They haven't gave him the job yet, but he got the job late in the year, the interim job late in the year. But Lords right now, who is currently still undefeated, I believe, right? They're
Yeah.
yeah, currently 5-0, I believe. So, but Sean Monroe, 6-0 right now, 2-0 in WAC play with wins over Madonna and Defiance. They do have a tough one this week against Rochester Christian, but yeah, so we'll see. I mean, they, maybe not the toughest schedule in the world right now, but at the end of the day, they're 6-0, and when you have the number one scorer in the NEI right now, they're, it's a team to certainly circle, and just shout out to Coach Dupree. It's not easy to take I know he's the assistant there anyway, but when you're taking over as the interim that late in the summer, certainly to start the year off 6-0 is a terrific way to start. So haven't talked about Lords much, but want to give them at least a last second shout out. And then we'll end the show just with I know you'll be at the no pun intended here, but you'll be at the show, the NEI of the show this week. So really fun feast week, or I know the NCAA Division I calls it Feast Week, Turkey Week, whatever you want to call it, Thanksgiving Week. We have some awesome classics in the NEI level. We'll start the week actually on Monday with the Battle at the Beach, which is awesome. There are some big time matchups there. And then we end the week basically with the big one called The Show. I believe that one starts Thursday. Does that start Thursday and go through Sunday, or Friday through Sunday?
I think it's Friday, Saturday,
through
Sunday.
Yeah, Thursday's Thanksgiving. So Friday through Sunday. There's some terrific top 25 matchups through there as well. So, and then some smaller classics as well that'll have some big time matchups. We don't have as many conference matchups. I do want to give out one thing that is I don't think you've heard of because you haven't texted me about it, but there is a wild game tomorrow on Sunday between Southwestern Christian and Texas Wesleyan. They have to play the last 5 minutes and I think 24 seconds of a game that got suspended last week because a moving truck hit a power pole and knocked over 4 power poles during the middle of the game. I believe it's tied. The game's tied currently at 69 all, and so they have to play the final 5 minutes and 24 seconds or whatever it is tomorrow. So that is actually a wild one tomorrow. First
That
time
is
I've ever
crazy.
heard. I've heard some crazy things on why games got suspended. But that's the first time I've ever heard of that one. So that game is tomorrow. They got to finish that game up. So that is one conference game. I know that the Sooner has a couple other conference games. I think the Hart maybe has a couple games. I think I saw the Appalachian maybe has a game or two. I saw a couple other leagues that had some games. But for the most part, it's a lot of non-conference action this week and some big-time games. So I know you'll be at the show. I believe right now for everybody that's watching, pay attention. We will put out a time that we are gonna broadcast live. Currently, that's up in the air on what time that is. It may not be an after dark show. It may be during the day live from the show. We're trying to figure those details out right now, but Coach is going to be at the show, NEI of the show in Tennessee, and we're going to try to grab some coaches live while he's out there. So we'll keep you informed on Twitter and post kind of the date and time a couple hours hopefully before we go live. But we figured since Coach is going to be out there, we'll try to grab some guys live.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Hey, you got me looking at this when you talked about the Monroe kid from Lords. I wanted to, first off, you're leading the country in scoring. A lot of people might think, he's a chucker and he's just getting them up. The dude is 63% from the field and 56% from three. So, he's an efficiency monster right now. So, yeah, absolute props to him. And then, I was looking at the points, so I was like, oh, let me look at the assists too. I don't know. I've never watched this guy play. Luke Rankin, you were leading the NAI in assists per game right now. You're getting 8 and 8 for Dort, who's undefeated, and we've talked about. So, doing a really good job of getting his teammates involved. Just wanted to give him a shout out.
Yeah, that Dort team's a lot of fun to watch. I think today was their 4th time going over 100 points per game, or over 100 points in a game. So, yeah, Dort will be in the top 25, I would imagine, this week. But we'll see where they end up coming out. But yeah, until next week, like I said, we'll figure out that date and time at maybe a midday show live from the show. But appreciate everybody joining us on, and we will see you next week. I'm signing off.
Thanks.